What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Blazers Uprise Live here on a Monday night, starting off your week right, ending your month of July right as well. As it's been a month since Dame requested a trade, Eric, it's kind of crazy that it was technically this month that Dame requested a trade because it feels like multiple months ago. But I have a prediction tonight regarding the month of August and what may or may not happen. And it's in the title. But
I may or may not disagree with you.
Well, yeah, we're going to have a discussion. So we didn't talk about Dame last stream. Okay, we're going to talk about Dame today. We're going to talk about the memo. I dropped a video over on the main channel, Blazers Uprise. You can go check out the video I dropped. It was kind of like a little bit of a ramble video, but, I just basically talked about the memo and that sort of situation. And it's been a week since I've discussed any Dame stuff with you, so we're going to kind of dive in on the memo and the situation. Not much has changed, but there was reports today that was basically just stating the status quo for the past couple of weeks or so, it seems. Also, today was important because it was when Jaime Jaquez could be traded, and a lot of people thought maybe a trade would go through once he could be traded. Did not go through today, so we'll discuss the latest in that situation. But first, thank you to BetOnline for sponsoring the stream. Use the promo code BELIEVE for a 50% reward bonus, BLEAV. We're in the thick of things in terms of Major League Baseball. The trade deadline's tomorrow, so, it's not as fun as the NBA, where I know literally every player and can have opinions on every trade, but it's still, trade deadlines in any sport are always some fun. So you can get in on MLB action, though, with BetOnline, that promo code BELIEVE. And you can get in on any other sport as well, as NFL preseason starts in August. Football season's basically here, Eric.
Yeah, both of our teams made small trades tonight, too.
Yep.
At least they're doing something. Good or bad.
Yeah. So my Mariners they're 3.5 games out of a wild card spot, I believe. Because the Blue Jays lost today, the Mariners took care of the Red Sox. So they're 3.5 games out of a wild card spot, and I expect them to sell tomorrow. Just like they, in my opinion, sold today. Yeah, where have I seen that before, Eric? Team like 3 games out of a wild card with a cheap owner selling at the trade deadline? It's almost like I've seen that before.
Actually, we were 2.5 out of 4th place at the trade deadline.
Yeah, and it's so funny how the narrative is like, yeah, this team was horrible, or this team was even close to being competitive last year when we were very close to having home court advantage, even though the team was very flawed. And then I saw a graphic where it was like against the top defenses in the NBA, players' points per game and true shooting percentage, and Dame was like 33 points per game on a 67% true shooting percentage, which is even better than the insane numbers that he averaged for the entire season, meaning that against the best defenses, he was playing even better last season. Like, offensively, the only guy that I think you could put ahead of him last season was Nikola Jokic. But because Nikola Jokic has a team around him, he's MVP caliber, top 2-3 player in the world, while Dame, since he has crap around him, a lot of people like to downplay his impact, and there's people that don't think he's a top 10 player, and Heat fans think that they can get him for a bag of chips and a can of pickles, and he's a negative contract. Yeah, it's just so funny how a player's team situation really changes the narrative around a certain player. But I think that kind of is it for our intro.
Everyone,
because I just wanted to set it up.
Contract, apparently.
Yeah, have we ever had a positive contract, guys? Because Josh Hart was going to be a negative contract, and Norman Powell was a negative contract, so was CJ, and now Nurk is, and now some people say Anthony is, and Dame is, and Jeremy Grant is, which, honestly, Jeremy Grant might be the most negative out of all of them, but still, like, every contract we ever have that's paying somebody more than, like, $10 million seems to be a negative contract. But yet, like Matisse Thybulle, we should match him, right? Even though he was a cast-off for a couple second-round picks.
Yeah.
But we're paying him $11 million, which was more than I was hoping to pay him going into next year. I'm so tired about negative and positive contract talk because it always seems to skew towards every contract we have is negative.
Yep. Even Rocco's expiring is somehow negative.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. When something's a negative contract, it gives you the excuse to get back nothing for it.
Yep.
So that explains why all our contracts are negative. because oftentimes people are having to excuse us getting nothing back.
Yep. Just want to say what's up to all of you out there in chat. Hope you had a great weekend and a good Monday. How's everyone doing? Let us know how your weekend was and all that. Thanks for joining us tonight. Sorry we have to talk about Dame once again tonight, but it's obviously going to be a topic until it happens.
Yeah, maybe Monday streams should be Dame streams, and then Thursday streams should be something else. Because I think we're gonna have to figure something out, Eric. Because, you want to just jump into things?
Sure.
Do you want to drag out the? We like to drag things out a little bit in the intro, but
well, let's go through what happened since our last stream, which we didn't talk about Dame.
Sure, let's do it. Go ahead. You take the floor.
That was Friday afternoon. We hear that the league sent out a memo to all 30 teams stating that any further comments publicly from Dame or his agent would probably result in some sort of discipline by the league. There is a CBA rule that Dame can get fined up to $150,000 for publicly demanding things. They also, I don't know. This part was very, very, I'm sure they left it vague on purpose, but they said that most teams said that, what Goodwin had been telling them matched what he told the league, that he wasn't actually telling teams when they called that Dame wouldn't play for them. But they didn't say all the teams said that, so I don't know if there was a couple that said that Dame wouldn't play there, which, I mean, how could you, if 10 teams called Aaron Goodwin, of course there's going to be a team like the Orlando Magic or something that Dame wouldn't want to play for, so I don't understand that part of it, but I don't know. So that all went down. A lot of people are speculating that that's very bad for Dame, but I don't know if it is or not. I mean, he has been relatively quiet. Goodwin had been quiet for a while before that memo, after initially being very vocal and loud. So I think they had already kind of calmed down and stopped talking. So I don't think it's going to change much, other than maybe it brings a few other teams into the fold that could possibly, give a legit offer. I still don't know if any team would or not.
That's the only thing that would really change because of that. Nothing is going to change for the worse for the Blazers. That whole memo obviously is not bad news for the Blazers. And I don't know if the status quo will change, but I agree. If anything changes because of that, it'll be maybe one or two teams out there that are a little bit more emboldened by the memo, by the league kind of stepping in, and they may be a little bit more confident that they can make a trade for Dame, and he'll play for them, he'll give it their all, he'll give it his all. So that's kind of my hope, I guess, with the way the Blazers are handling this, where the bridge is basically burnt at this point between the organization and Dame.
Yeah, for sure. And then there is some speculation that perhaps the Blazers filed a complaint with the league at the way Dame has and his agent have handled the trade request, because in the new CBA, it was supposed to be very frowned upon to publicly request a trade and all that kind of stuff. So I think the Blazers might have done something like that. And then today comes out, Shams says that the Heat are willing to offer 3 to 4 first, and then he mentions Tyler Hero separate. So I don't know if that's included in the 3 to 4 first or what. I don't know how they're getting a 4th first to offer. And then it said multiple seconds or something, and they only have 1 second rounder they can trade. So not sure where they're getting second round picks plural from. So yeah, it didn't really make a lot of sense, but it was basically that minimum offer that we've been talking about. A couple of young players, 3 to 4 first, whatever we get for Tyler Hero from a third team, and expirings. That's basically been the offer that's been out there for a while. So I don't know.
Yeah. I don't really think the status of negotiations have changed a whole lot. And I'm going to segue this into my prediction. There's really nothing, and Woj spoke to this in his report. A lot of executives are on vacation or aren't picking up phones. Like, normally August isn't a time to get deals done. Now, we've seen deals in August before. I believe Larry Nance Jr. deal was in August, and last year, the Donovan Mitchell trade, I think Pat Beverly got traded once, maybe twice. I know he got traded multiple times last offseason, so I don't remember if they were both in August, but it's not to say haven't seen August trades before, and it is very possible Dame gets traded in August, but if I had to predict what happens, I mean, I just don't see why anything would change in August, because the only real play that could happen is a team comes in and offers a package the Blazers can't refuse, and they say yes, right? I don't think that's going to happen. I think if another team enters the fray, I think Portland just turns that into a bidding war. And without, with some front offices on vacation or maybe not being super aggressive yet because it's August, I feel like it's likely that at this point that Portland just continues to hold out, because it's not like any of the pieces they're going to get back for Damian Lillard are pieces that are going to help them next year. And as much as Joe Cronin seems to apparently think this team can still be competitive, I mean, when he had Damian Lillard on the roster, he didn't really value winning, so I don't see him kind of valuing winning so much that he makes a trade earlier in order to kind of get back, win now pieces. And I don't see a team coming in and giving that up. So, never say never, but I feel like this trade's not going to happen in August. I mean, you could maybe change my mind because I heard you say, so it makes me think you got something. I'm interested to hear what you have to say, but just to finish my point, like, it just seems like a holding pattern at this point, and if Portland's goal is truly to try and create leverage on Miami, I think that'll take some time to play out, and therefore I don't think Dame gets traded in August. That's just kind of my bold prediction right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a bad prediction. I said to the fact that I actually think they do think they can win this year, and they are trying to find more win now players, and that's part of the hold up with everything that's going on. We talked about this before, but they think they can do what the Seahawks did last year, trade their star player. And,
but who's even available?
No, I know. I'm not saying that's the problem. That's why there hasn't been a trade. But I could very easily see them make a trade and get less future picks back and have a win now player added to this roster, which I think is silly unless it's a young enough player to fit with the core long term and who has a decent contract situation. If you're talking because someone mentioned OG Anunoby as a player that if they could get using some of the assets for this trade, would you do it? I think that's
just stupid because you should have used the assets and kept Dame.
Right. But to me, that one, I don't want players who are either under a bad contract. So I'd include like DeAndre Ayton for that. Like let's say we could get DeAndre Ayton after a Dame trade. I don't think I'd want that because Ayton's on a bad contract. He still has 3 more years left, and I don't think he's going to change this nucleus long term from a rebuilding team to a championship contender in 3 or 4 years. So I don't think I would take Ayton on. But OG and players like him, like Jaylen Brown, before he signed an extension, and people wanted to, for some reason, get Jaylen Brown, even though we're trading Dame. Those kind of players, they're bouncing after a year, most likely. They're not going to stick around to rebuild in Portland. So I would be scared on OG, one, that he would leave for nothing in a year, and then you don't have any of those picks you could have had. And then two, if he stays, you're going to have to overpay him, just like Jeremy Grant. and Matisse Thybulle, and now you're stuck paying OG like $30 million a year on top of Jeremy Grant, and you still don't have like a
Ooh.
championship contending roster.
Well, that's why I'm not worried at all, because like about them valuing an OG type player, because there's two scenarios. One scenario, Jody's unhappy because we have to pay him a ton of money, and this team has already shied away from players on expiring deals. The other scenario is he walks for nothing, and Joe Cronin looks absolutely horrible. So that's why I'm not particularly worried about them going after a player like that, because either way, Cronin's going to look terrible, or Jody's going to be unhappy because she's paying a ton of money, and she's shown that she doesn't want to pay that sort of money. So, I think they view Dame as a way to save money going forward, while still remain competitive. I don't really see them like going after an OG in that sort of situation for those reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mean him in particular. Like, that's just one example. I just meant like any kind of player that's not like a super good young player that.
So like a Keldon Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, Keldon Johnson's okay, but like I'm not giving up. I'd rather have 4 firsts than give 3 of those up for Keldon Johnson if that's what it takes, you know?
Yeah, especially because he doesn't really fit. He's
Right.
not a legitimate forward. He's a really bad defender. I mean, like, maybe I'd worry about a Keldon Johnson, but, like, that's the most I'd worry about. And I would worry about going after a Keldon Johnson because I could see Joe Cronin sitting there, like, trying to make the team as competitive as next year while still being able to preach that it's a rebuild and a youth movement, just like this, as you love to point out, the Seahawks parallel. Keldon Johnson's young enough that you could still preach, yeah, this is a move for the future, but also I could see Cronin thinking he's like good enough to maybe help this team make a 7 or an 8 seed or something like that, and I'd be worried about the want to like have this move look good, to go from like, yeah, with Dame we were a below 500 team, now without him we have our future intact and we're better. Like, I would not put that past Joe Cronin to want to paint that picture next season. I don't see how logically you can think that going from a player who had the best who had the best offensive season in franchise history to a 19-year-old point guard is anything but a major downgrade next year. So then if you're valuing what a player could bring you next year, it's like, okay, so we weren't good enough to avoid a sell-off last year, but now that we should be much worse, now we're valuing that sort of thing. I mean, as I've said, that doesn't make sense. And I just wonder, you know, I think at some point Carter will just bite the bullet, because I don't think anyone is truly available, but I would worry more so about like a Keldon Johnson type than an OG Anunoby type, simply because Keldon Johnson has, 4 years left on his contract or something? Didn't he just sign an extension?
Yeah, I think he's in the 2nd year of it, so yeah.
Yeah, so he has team control. They're not going to have to pay him like a max. He might not walk like an OG, so I'd worry more about a Keldon Johnson type.
Yeah, so my first point is I think when egos are involved, I think it makes you do stupid things. Like they so badly want to prove that now that Dame's going to be gone, that they could possibly be better off without him. And I think, as dumb as that sounds to people who obviously are embracing the rebuild and wanting, you know, this change, I think it's just unrealistic to think that they should use assets to win now when those assets could be used to find the right pieces that fit the Scoot, Sharp. I don't know if you want to include Anthony in that core moving forward or not, but you use those pieces down the road, in my opinion, to find the right players, not right now. And so yeah, I wouldn't do that at all. But I really think there's some massive just like manipulation going on, and if they have a successful season without Dame, I think they would look at that as a huge win, And I think that's part of the problem with what the franchise is doing right now. It's like they're not thinking about it just in terms of, okay, we're moving on from Dame, we're going to rebuild. They're thinking of it as this might be best for us to build a winning team quickly to move on from Dame, and that doesn't sound like it's the best strategy, but I definitely could see them doing that.
I just don't think this trade happens in August because, I mean, there's a report that says Miami still isn't offering more because they don't feel like they should have to give up more than what they're offering because they're not bidding against anybody. And I really think Portland is going to take all the time that it needs in order to try and find a second bidder. And in the end, it might still result in Dame being traded to Miami. But if they're not giving up their full package, you're probably going to need that second bidder to come into play. And if that's not there yet, I just don't see Joe Cronin. You know, I don't see him. I don't see him after taking it from July 1st to July 31st. I don't see him not waiting another month. He's already waited an entire month anyway. So at that point, like, why wouldn't you wait? Why wouldn't you maybe take it into training camp? You know, if you're not getting back a good enough deal and you know that the trade you get back for Dame, you're going to get flamed for, why not take it into training camp if you're Joe Cronin and make Dame sit out and look like even more of the bad guy? And then maybe Dame says, okay, I'm willing to go to these places, and then you can have your bidding war. So I think if Cronin was going to accept the Heat trade, I think it would have already happened. The common denominator, or not the common denominator, like the thing that could change there is Miami offering more, but it doesn't sound like they're going to be offering more, at least according to the report today. I forget who reported it, but if they're not in a bidding war, they can play hardball. So I just think it's going to be two stubborn teams, and it's also going to be a GM who's hell-bent on kind of controlling the narrative and the optics of the situation. And I just think that creates a holding pattern that we're going to see play out for the entirety of August.
Yeah, well, I'll counter that by saying I think what is happening is Cronin is holding out and trying to hold off the Heat from even telling them exactly what he would accept for as long as possible while he waits for hopefully a magical team to come in and make things very interesting with other offers. And I just think as the days go by and those offers don't come, which they are not coming, I just think that eventually Cronin has to realize that it's either take the Heat offer or don't trade Dame. And I don't know what he would do in that situation because much like I was just saying with the whole not wanting to win now, it cannot work. Even if Dame agreed to come back here, I don't think that is good for if you want to rebuild, you chose that route. You need to move on from Dame. You have to get him out of here. And I don't think you should just take a crap offer, but you should also be of the mindset, not publicly, but privately within the Blazers organization, they should be having the mindset that this cannot go into the season because then Scoot's development gets hindered because Dame's here playing and all that kind of stuff. And then Anthony, they're expecting a huge season from Anthony. He's not going to get as many shots or the ball or whatever. And, Sharp, then his minutes are messed with. I think what's best for this team is moving on from Dame once they chose that route and getting Scoot basically to be the next Dame, where Dame stepped in right away into a okay but not great lineup and was the man from day one. And I just think any type of Dame interfering with that is a hindrance. And I think eventually they'll figure it out that they don't have any other options and no other offers are coming.
I don't think Scoot has to be the number one guy as a 19-year-old in order to develop properly. I think having Dame would be a great mentor for him if Dame was here. I think having Dame teach him some of the intricacies, some of the things he looks for during the course of a game, etc., would be beneficial. I think that Dame has had a great impact on Anthony Simons' development, and I think you could have a similar impact on Scoots. Now, obviously, the minutes breakdown is going to be weird, but I still think, you can get Dame and Scoot sharp all 30 minutes a game. Sure, the team probably has, the team definitely has major weaknesses in that situation. Like, we didn't solve anything. If anything, we made things a little bit worse defensively, so that team's not going to do anything. But, we've kind of disagreed a little bit on the Dame impact in terms of, like, completely hindering Scoot's development.
Yeah, I'd rather have Scoot playing 35 minutes a game and learning everything versus having to defer to Dame half the game he's playing in and maybe getting 25, 30 minutes. I don't know if that's best for his development right now.
I think he needs to develop as an off-ball guy. I think he needs to, I don't think Scoot's, I don't know if there's ever going to be a 6'2" guard in the league where it's like you just give them the ball every time down the court and you're able to win a championship just by giving them the ball every time down the court. Like, who's the best, 6'2", 6'3" guard in terms of winning championships the past 10 to 15 years? It's Steph Curry, but, I mean, he's amazing playing off the ball, right? Like, so I think that's something that having him have to do a little bit more of that, but then also having somebody that can set him up off the ball the way that Dame could, would actually maybe not be a bad thing. Forcing him into a role where he's a little bit uncomfortable, and forcing him to play a bit off the ball, I think could be a positive.
Well, that's if Dame even shows up. But
no, I know. I'm just saying, in the hypothetical that Dame decides, screw it, I'll play in a Portland uniform, and he doesn't get traded. I don't think he'd be bad.
I think they're giving the ball to Anthony though, so Anthony could be that guy that sets him up and teaches him how to play off ball because he's learned for 5 years under Dame.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is it's probably not going to make too much of a difference in terms of the long-term development of him. Sure, he might get less touches, but I also think the positive mentorship from Dame would cancel that out. I think at this point they've chosen their route, so I'm not arguing to keep him. I don't think there's really an option where you can because he doesn't want to be here, and that's what they chose.
So wait, the guy who wants out of here and then they don't accommodate that request is going to come in and then be all mentory with the
I never
guys
said
that.
That.
Here?
I was just talking about the hypothetical in case he wanted to be here, right? We were talking about that hypothetical. They're past that point.
Yeah.
They're past that point. I'm not discussing this in terms of this could happen or should happen or anything like that. I'm just discussing the hypothetical. I don't think if you got Joel Embiid as a center, right, and had Scoot and Dame still, and Dame wanted to stay because of it, I don't think Dame would have hurt Scoot's development if they were both here and both wanted to be here, right?
Yeah, but we don't have 4 guards in that situation because 2 of them are traded out in that trade.
Yeah, but Ant can, Ant. Here's the thing, in the NBA, you got to have multiple guys that can do things with the ball. I think to win a championship, those guys that can do things with the ball need to be able to play off the other guys that can do things with the ball. DeMar DeRozan always struggled in the playoffs. Russell Westbrook always struggled in the playoffs because they couldn't play off the ball. When they had the ball in their hands, they could make some things happen, but they just weren't good enough playing off other guys, and they weren't good enough to be a number one that just completely carries a team either.
I mean, if Scoot's more like that, I think the rebuild's already screwed, though.
If Scoot's more like what?
Like a guy who can't be a number one the way he currently plays. If he has
I think he can. I think he can be a number one, but I think he's going to have to need a number 2 and a number 3 that he can, that he can play off of, and they can coexist and work.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different for other positions. I don't think a point guard necessarily has to play off the ball, but I do think ultimately you have to be able to space the floor, when you pass the ball. If you don't have people respecting your 3-point shot, I think obviously people will sag off and it'll be harder for your offense to maneuver and stuff like that. But I don't. This would be different if it was just Dame and Scoot. That would be fine. But in this situation, we have 4 guards who are we're trying to develop 3 of them, and Dame's playing here against his will or whatever. Like I think I don't know how, like 3 of them basically have a similar role. Anthony's probably the best off ball, obviously, but like 3 of them are probably at their best with the ball. I just don't think that can work, especially since we still only have 1 big man and we don't have any size. We have all the same issues, and now we have another.
I mean, we're not going to win.
Guard on top of that. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, yeah, I don't.
Not going to win regardless.
So we're just going to play the 4 of them together with Grant at center sometimes and just run them all out there.
I mean, here's like what Scoot needs to become really good at in terms of just various things playing off the ball that I think being put in these situations would help him develop these skills and be maybe a better thing for his long-term development, because he already reads the game at a super advanced level. He's already very dynamic with the ball, right? But in terms of playing off the ball, like, he has to become a better shooter than he's been in the G League, a better three-point shooter. I think he has the potential to be a decent catch-and-shoot three-point shooter, but I think he's going to need to continue to just kind of iron out his form a little bit, get reps up in practice, but then also get catch-and-shoot reps up in games. I think more of those opportunities wouldn't be a bad thing. I think that would be a good thing. But then also part of that will be, okay, if you can hit those shots, can you attack closeouts correctly? Can you read when to attack closeouts and when to shoot a catch and shoot 3? I think being put in those situations would be good just for the catch and shoot ability, but then also attacking closeouts properly, and that sort of thing. Like, he should be fine doing that because he's so quick, but I think those reps would be good for him. Also, just knowing when to cut, relocating along the 3-point line to keep the spacing right, filling lanes in transition if you're not the guy bringing the ball up. And I'm not saying he's not capable of these things. I'm just saying these are various reps that will be good for him. I don't think that being put into more of those sort of situations compared to, like, isolating and shooting a mid-range pull-up because he's the guy would be a bad thing.
Yeah, in my opinion, all those things are secondary to one. I mean, he has to prove that he can do the things he's good at in the NBA first. So if he's not good on the ball either, he's got to develop those as well. But 2, like, we need this next iteration of the Blazers to be better overall defensively. And I think if you're throwing out 3 or 4 guards in lineups because you don't care about winning, I just don't know if that's teaching them how to play defense effectively or long-term what their role in defense will be, while you're still getting those benefits that you talked about, but I think there's other benefits that are better, in my opinion.
I don't think the alternative is going to be good for defensive development. I don't think it really makes much of a difference, because it's still going to be Scoot, Ant, and Sharp, and then you're gonna have Jeremy Grant on a losing team without Dame. Who knows how much Jeremy Grant wants to be here compared to how much he just wanted that bag, Eric. Mm-hmm. I don't trust Jeremy Grant.
Gary Payton situation.
And here's the thing. Chauncey's probably going to put him on guards, which means that one of our guards is already going to be guarding a forward anyway. Like, we might as well run 4 guards compared to Jeremy Grant, who rebounds like a guard and is going to be guarding guards. Like, what's the difference, Well,
like,
I don't know if there is one, because you're going to have, like, Sharp on power forwards in that sort of situation anyway. So I don't trust the situation to be a good situation for defensive development of Scoot, because they're still going to be small. They're going to probably cross-match Grant just by design, just like they did last year. And then Grant, I don't trust him to play his ass off, because I don't even trust that he truly wants to be here without Dame.
Well, I think if Dame's on the team next year, it makes even less sense that we kept Thibault. So I think they expected Dame to be gone as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're just talking the hypothetical. In such a hypothetical, I wouldn't have brought him back.
But I think, so we saw at the end of last year that they challenged Sharp to be the primary on-ball defender of the best player of opposing teams, whether that was Anthony Edwards or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or whatever. We saw that. So hopefully, if that's if Sharp is playing a lot with Scoot and Anthony, hopefully he's the guy taking over that responsibility and not Grant in those lineups. And if Thybulle's in, Thybulle can do that as well. So I think if that's the case, I think Grant will go back to more of being a help defender and not on the ball all the time, which I think will be good for everyone. But I hope they do that same thing with Scoot and just don't start him off in his career allowing him to just hide on defense. Like, challenge him to be just as good on defense as he is on offense. So I think if you have Dame and Scoot out there, you're having to always hide one of the two, whereas the other guys, Anthony quietly had a really good season navigating screens and on-ball defense-wise.
Not quietly, we scream to the heavens about it.
I mean, we know that, and those who watch us know that, but like most of the general public thinks he was the worst defender in the league last year or something. So I don't know. I want to go back to more traditional challenge all your guys. That's one thing that, I mean, Kerr still hides Curry a lot, but he also makes him take some defensive assignments. So I don't want the situation. I don't want to see Scoot like 3 years from now, every single time running back on defense, running to the bottom corner and pointing at your other guys to go guard whoever has the ball, like Dame has been doing the last several years. Because I just don't think you can ever be a good defense with that. So I want to challenge them all from the beginning.
I mean, I absolutely want to as well. But if we're discussing hypotheticals, just kind of random hypotheticals versus what reality is, I mean, the reality is Chauncey Billups is head coach, and the reality is I don't trust him to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he will because we're gonna be back. But why didn't you do that before? Why didn't you do that before? Like, I don't trust him. Like, reality is probably not any better than the hypothetical if Dame never wanted to be traded of that 4-guard lineup defensively in terms of development, because I just don't trust Chauncey to put those guys in the right situations. If he does, then okay, well, that's the right move at this point because the bridge is already burnt, right? Like, we've already burnt that bridge with Dame. Now you have to make the best out of this situation. I just think they're so much screwed up, not only with the roster, not only with what they did to Dame, not only with the fact that they haven't made a single trade or signing this offseason. Yeah. Like, but there's also, like, Chauncey, I don't really trust him. I don't trust him to put the guards in the right situations to develop them. Like, there's so much wrong with the situation. You know, we could sit here and say, and argue the hypothetical, like, oh, well, if Dame never wanted to be traded, would he hinder Scoot's development? I think they might find a way to hinder Scoot's development no matter what.
True.
So
the hope
at this
is
point,
he's so
like, we'll
good
wait.
You can overcome a bad coach. We'll
wait and see. I mean, here's the thing: if this team still sucks 2 years from now, there's a good chance that Chauncey Billups is out, and hopefully the team gets sold. Right? Like, that's the thing. It's not. They have time. Like, if Scoot's not a good defender by 21, who cares? Dame came into the league at 22. Like, it's not something where we are up against the clock where it's like, oh, wow, if we completely screw up the next 2 or 3 seasons, we're screwed. Whereas it's felt like that with Dame for the past 6 or 7 years. So it's not even a negative thing in terms of acknowledging the reality that we might not have a good enough coach to develop these guys, because if that's true, then there's a legitimate chance that we have a new coach before it's too late. We have a new coach when Sharp is 22 or 23 and Scoot's 21 or 22, and those guys are still years away from their prime. So, you know, in one way, it's like, I don't want to excuse the job that Chauncey does if he does a bad job because we have time, but it's also nice because we do have time, and we can mess up for the next year or two, and if we do, we probably get higher picks and get rewarded for it, right? So, I mean, in the end, does it truly matter? Like, that's why I'm going into next year just with a, let's see what happens. Like, I don't care really if we win or lose.
What's the difference between the Seattle Seahawks example and the Portland Trailblazers is they had Pete Carroll, who's a well-respected, top of the line coach, and the Blazers have someone who was an assistant coach for 1 year and no real experience and all that kind of stuff. So if they truly do want to win, I think Chauncey's going to be on a very short leash and a very hot seat moving forward, because if they feel like they bring in a couple players, even if it's just like another Thibault and Grant level player, and they think they should be decent enough to win, and they sign maybe like Willie Tavares or something, I don't think they think they're going to be bad. So if they are super bad, I think, yeah, Chauncey then will start to feel the heat, and they'll point to that, not anything they did, right? It wasn't the front office, it wasn't the ownership, right? It's going to be all on Chauncey, because like that's the only person left they can blame, right? And so I think they'll look to bring in a more experienced coach if they feel like they're underachieving. So I just think he's probably going to be the next person to go. And one of the main focal points they've always said about Chauncey, he's going to help us recruit free agents, right? This is now the third off season we've gotten Gary Payton the second, who didn't even want to be here as our best free agent.
But maybe he did help us recruit free agents. We would never know.
That's true. But
just like Dame supposedly had successfully recruited people that we then didn't go after.
I'm just saying, if they don't care to go down that route, like what's the point of having him? Because like that was the whole, he's got all these relationships around the league, he's going to get guys excited to come to Portland and stuff like that. If we don't care about those things, like what's the point of Chauncey then if he's also not doing a good job with the team this year? And I'm not even saying like winning games, unless the front office thinks they should win games, but just in terms of watching the development and seeing those things, like a defense that could actually work long term, an offensive system with the right mix of players around Scoot and Sharp could become, a championship level offense as well. I think you need to start seeing those things from Chauncey, that he can scheme those situations. And I think he's probably going to be the fall guy if none of this happens. I know a lot of people think it's going to be Joe if he takes a bad deal for Dame, but I really don't think the organization is thinking that way.
I don't even think Chauncey ends up being the fall guy if they struggle.
Just continue blaming Dame.
Well, I think they'll just admit that they're in a rebuild.
Yeah.
They want to keep up the mindset that, we can still be competitive to sell tickets now, but the trade deadline next year, if we're, 25 games under 500 and trade Jeremy Grant and trade Matisse Thybulle, they'll just sit there and say, well, we're, our core three players are 23, 20, and 19. We're in a rebuild. I think at that point he embraces that because... that's obviously what it's been. He won't say it when he still has Dame on the roster, even though he's operated like he is in a rebuild, because he has Dame on the roster and he doesn't want people to think that he's screwing away Dame's prime with a rebuild, even though you look at all his moves and it's just giving away veteran role players for next to nothing. Norman Powell, Robert Covington, throwing in Larry Nance Jr. into the CJ deal. I know I helped him get Grant, but at the time, did he know he was going to be able to get Grant, or was that just a throw-in, like the Josh Hart trade? Sure, we got Chris Murray, but, you're basically... What do rebuilding teams do? They trade away veterans, and they get back first- or second-round picks. That's what a rebuilding team does. I'm not even arguing that, maybe Chris Murray ends up being better than Josh Hart, but if you're a contending team or a team trying to win, you don't trade Josh Hart for a rookie. You don't. you know? There's a lot that went into that, but basically everything with Cronin and the front office has been in lockstep. Or Cronin and ownership, all that's been in lockstep because ownership is cheap, and Cronin seems to have embraced a rebuilding path. I know people think he tried this offseason, but regardless if you think he tried or not, all his moves have added up to a rebuild, and he is not going to admit that all those moves have added up to a rebuild because he's doesn't want to look like he did wrong by Damian Lillard. He wants to look like he tried his best to win, just like he was saying for 2 years. So narratives are very important to GMs. Some GMs in this league are, in my opinion, just glorified PR guys. And Joe Cronin, in my opinion, is a glorified PR guy. He comes across as very genuine and very kind and very nice on the mic and press conferences and whatnot, and that is the exact opposite of what we had before him and Neil Olshey. So it's an even more apparent difference, you know? Like it was a breath of fresh air for a lot of people to go from Olshey's manner where he rubbed people the wrong way to a guy that was pleasant to deal with. In other organizations, if they fire an OKGM and hire a guy like Cronin, they don't really care about that type of stuff. But people grew tired of Olshey, so having somebody that basically came across as the exact opposite as Olshey was a huge deal to a lot of people. So Cronin has with parts of this fan base masterfully handled the PR department, because he has people excusing him literally doing nothing and being impressed as to how he's handled the Dame situation, which he's literally done nothing.
Well, if he accepts that Miami offer, I think there'll be some people who'll be like, what are you doing, Joe? But I think most of them are going to then say it's Dame's fault. Aaron Goodwin's fault, right?
Yeah. And Alex Wolff, who's a Cavs fan, by the way. So, or I think he's also a Blazer. Is he also a Blazer fan, Eric?
No, just a Cavs fan.
Yeah, he's a Cavs fan.
He's
so
a
no skin in the game.
Uprise fan and a Cavs fan.
Yeah, shout out to Alex. But he has no skin in the game. He says, I actually think Joe comes off as phony myself. Eric, this is a segue into kind of another topic, but
could you check Discord real quick? Too?
Yeah.
Go ahead, though.
Sure. I'll do that. But I'm starting to really question people's evaluation of character. And that's not just because of the whole Cronin situation. Alex Wolff says, I actually think Joe Cronin comes off as phony myself. I absolutely believe that as well. But some people, I feel like, would be shocked if they found out he lied. Or wouldn't even acknowledge it, right? Like, how could a guy like that lie? And I kind of see it on the surface, man. But I've dealt... Some of the nicest people, or people that I thought were, like, real friends of mine, have stabbed me in the back. Like, I've dealt with people who are nice on the surface, but then will stab you in the back, right? And some of the people in my life that is nice are just kind of like normal and, maybe don't come across as nice as a Joe Cronin would, but, aren't necessarily mean. Some of them have been very solid to me, right? You can't really tell somebody's intentions just by seeing what's on the surface. And I think that's true with Joe Cronin, but also, do you want to talk about the whole Nurk wedding thing? Because that kind of ties into this.
Sure, but I'll just say, I think the opposite sometimes happens with us. I would say both of us are actually really chill, nice guys in real life, and people just think we're a-holes because we have basketball opinions and stuff. So yeah, I think it works both ways. But yeah,
you can't judge somebody on the surface and what they say in press conferences, and you also can't judge people based on how they give opinions on Twitter. If somebody goes on Twitter and insults a bunch of people, calls them the B word like you were called the other day, sure. But bro, we don't even cuss. There's a reason I said the B word. We don't even cuss on our streams. We reserve it for very special occasions where it means more, that we'll just let an F-bomb fly, right? Like, that's reserved for when it's very deserved. I don't know why I'm rhyming. That was a bar. But there's another chat poll, chat. Just answer these chat polls. We'll talk about them a little bit later. Nurkic had a wedding. Nurkic finally got married to his longtime girlfriend. Congrats to him, by the way.
Yeah.
If you're one of those people that saw a tweet about Nurk getting married and gave your basketball opinion on him immediately, I mean, I think that kind of makes you maybe a jerk, right? Like, that's the thing. I would never sit there on a tweet of a player getting married and say, we need to trade you, you suck, or something like that. Like, the dude got married. He's a human being, Like, if you can't separate your own fandom from your own humanity, then that's a bit of a problem.
And that's exactly why Nurk just started blocking anyone that says anything bad to him, because why would he want to see any of that?
Yeah, exactly. So, Nurkic had a wedding in Croatia, I believe you said it was?
I don't know exactly where it was. Somewhere over there, yeah.
And Dame didn't attend. And
Anthony did.
Anthony did, but Dame didn't. And there was an argument in our Discord. By the way, if you want to join our Discord, there's a link in the description box below. You can join our Discord and be a part of these conversations. But there was a dude who said, honestly, that's a really P-word move from Dame. Okay, fill in the blank. Right? And there was a couple other people that replied or reacted with the 100 emoji, right? And I'm not here to call those people out. I'm not going to call anyone out by name, right? I'm not judging people for that. But, so Dame didn't attend Nurk's wedding, and, like, there was people that were legitimately upset with it. There's people that said, that's a really bad look for Dame, and that's, you know, what the hell? And I'm just baffled, Eric, because after over a decade of this guy being here in Portland and teammates swearing by him, teammates saying how solid he's been towards him, even equipment managers talking about how solid he's been towards him, like he'll walk into the office of, you know, the head equipment manager or whatever and drop 10K on the table at the end of the season. Like, everybody's talked for over a decade about how solid of a guy Dame is, especially to people in his circle, right? But the moment, right? The moment he doesn't attend a wedding for Nurk that's across the world, instead of people giving him the benefit of the doubt, like, oh, well, he probably has a legitimate reason because he and Nurk are super close. Instead, oh, that's a really bad look from Dame. Why, you know, that's a P-word move from Dame. That's a bad look, man. What the hell? And that goes back to my whole judge of character, where how is this dude not proven enough as a person in Portland over the last decade to not get any of the benefit of the doubt in a situation like that involving Nurk, who's always been his guy? Mm-hmm. Just baffled me.
Yeah, for the record, it appears Dame was at another wedding. So there was two weddings at the same time. He can't be two places at once.
Can't? Really bad look that he can't be in two places at once, man.
Horrible, man. But yeah, so yeah, he was at another wedding. I don't know whose exactly wedding it was, but it was more local. And also he was at the Spence Crawford fight on, was that Friday night or Saturday night? He was at that as well. We know he's a big boxing fan and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so he was at that event and was at another wedding this weekend. Could be as simple as two different weddings, and he had to go to the first one.
I mean, that's the thing is, like,
Trey Taylor's wedding. I'm not sure who Trey Taylor is. But.
I mean, that's the thing is, like, just based on what he's proven as a dude over the past decade, like, I'm just going to assume he has a legitimate reason for it, or he talked to Nurkic, or, you know, maybe there's some, I don't really want to get too deep into gossip, but, you know, there's been some hiccups in Dame's personal life that maybe could be a reason, or so it seems according to rumors, right? I don't know if it's true or not, so I don't even really want to speculate, but it's like the dude could have a number of legitimate reasons why maybe he couldn't make it, or, you know, had conflicting things, and it's like, instead of just giving him the benefit of the doubt, we're like, okay, yeah, he's cool with Nurk, he probably has a good reason. Instead, we're gonna character assassinate him? Really? It doesn't make sense. And that's where it's like, this whole situation has showed me that it seems like, I don't know, it seems like as a fan base, we really struggle to evaluate character sometimes. I don't know what it is, but it's like, I just don't understand how Dame hasn't proven himself over the past decade. But yet Joe Cronin, whose actions have not backed up any of his statements, gets all the benefit of the doubt, and everybody just assumes that he would always tell the truth as a GM.
Because why wouldn't he? That's the only thing they have to go on.
Exactly. So
he has to lie as a GM.
I'm not saying I'm a perfect gauge of character whatsoever, right? Like, none of us are, but I'm just saying, like, Dame's actions have backed up his words for a decade. I'm going to give that type of guy the benefit of the doubt, not the type of the guy whose actions have not backed up his words once. Mm-hmm. That just seems logical to me. That's just me. But then people say, oh, that's just because you hate Cronin. Like, I have no reason to hate Joe Cronin. As personally, like...
We both wish he was telling the truth this
I
time.
wish he was the best GM in league history, right? Like, Dame would not want out. That's kind of the problem. Anyway. I don't know if you had anything else to add on that.
No, I mean, we've been telling everyone this for, well, a couple months now, pretty much, that this could come down to a battle of just optics and publicity, PR and public relations, like all that kind of stuff. And it seems like, to a good portion of the fan base, the Blazers are actually winning that battle, which is just crazy to me. We're often, questioned our fanhood and our basketball opinions are being taken down because we believe in Dame as a good person. It's crazy to me that that's the outcome of this summer. I can't imagine how this has ended up in this point. It's just crazy.
Well, Dame tweeted out some cryptic tweets before, so he's a drama king and loves drama, Eric.
Yeah.
Like, that's seriously what basically people have told me. I had a question on Twitter the other day. I asked, like, well, okay, well, if Cronin hypothetically told Dame that he would trade him where he wants to go, then why would Dame publicly demand a trade compared to just privately going to Joe and saying, you know what, you told me you would trade me where I want to go here. And if Cronin was a man of his word and hypothetically did that, then that's what he'd do, right? So, like, if that happened, why would Dame take it public? The only reason is because he didn't trust Cronin to stick by his word, right? Like, so that's a legitimate possibility as to what's happened. I know some people won't believe it, but I 1000% believe in Eric's source, and I've also heard things outside of Eric's source, which, it's so funny, because side ramble, guys, do you want a side ramble? Do you want a little side note, little quick 1 minute ramble?
Sure.
Okay. I want to make sure chat wants it. Bad enough. Okay. They need to want it bad, Eric. I would say that me and you talk to as many Blazer fans as anyone in the fan base. Because of our platform. And because we're interactive. In Discord, on Twitter, in our group chat, on the channel.
I would say I'm open to talking to anyone. I don't know if we're the most or the number one people for that, but
I mean, we talk to a ton of Blazer fans.
I don't like to not talk to people, so you can always message me, or we get tagged and everything on Twitter. I don't know.
Allison says, I don't know why you ask. The answer is yes, LOL. Well, Allison, I wanted to see stuff like what Alex Wolf said in all caps. He said, I need it. Okay, that, oh, that's what I want to see. Point is, we talk to a ton of Blazer fans, and people out there. I legitimately had somebody tell me the other day that I obviously wouldn't know anyone who knows anyone to find out any information about anything. Like, Eric, when you talk to a bunch of people, you build connections. You build connections, you hear certain things. Because you talk to a lot of people. The more people you talk to, the more you might hear through the grapevine, right? And it's just baffling to me how there's the assumption that me and you wouldn't talk to anyone that would know anything, or talk to anyone else who would know anything. We talk to so many freaking Blazer fans, man.
It's not just that, it's that there's a certain amount of people who believe if you're not a credentialed, like, career journalist or Blazer media person, that there's no way you could ever know someone or talk to someone that knows anything about the team. So, I mean, I don't really care. I mean, I always say this. I'm not trying to become one of them. I think that's where most of those people are coming from. They think we're trying to be like take all their jobs or whatever. And
Eric,
like
that's BS, because I'm just gonna come out and say it. I have something lined up career-wise that is better. Okay,
right.
Like in this channel is going to be better off for it. We're all going to be better off for it. Okay? Like I don't want to be any of them. And that's not an insult to them. I am very happy with my life. I am very happy doing what I do right now and what I'm going to do in the next 6 months. Okay? Just plain and simple. I don't know why people think, yeah, we want to, cuz dude, even Steven before asked a question, be like, so yeah, you guys want to get into media, huh? Like when I first started talking to Steven for my podcast, I'm like, no. Nope. No, I don't want to go the traditional route. I want to go my own route. That's what I've always said. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
To your point, ever since okay, so I know someone, and I'll just leave it at that. But ever since I started sharing some of that info,
yeah,
I have multiple people that just message me out of the blue saying, hey, I got a scoop for you. I have this or whatever. And I don't tell you guys any of that crap because I don't have a way of vetting it. And so if this person is correct, and then the next time they bring me something, I might think of it a little more. And so I still believe that Draymond Green was in town and had dinner with Damian Lillard that night, right?
You were right when Jeremy Grant was in town over a month before his trade to Portland.
I was told by someone who is incredibly close to one of those two people that they were having dinner that night, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I still this person, if I told you his name, you guys would be like, okay, it has to be true, right? If this person told you, right? Okay. But I still didn't say anything about it because I didn't want to, I wasn't sure, and I didn't want to just come out and be like, oh, they're having dinner tonight or whatever. Okay. And then I get a message the next morning from someone who knows the GM of the restaurant they ate at, who had no idea what I knew because I hadn't told a single person what I knew, that it was 100% true that Draymond and Dame were at the restaurant that night. So I had it from two different people. One was someone who talks to, and I know for a fact he knows the GM of that restaurant, and he is very well connected with other people. And then I heard from another, from a person who was close to one of the two people who had dinner. So I don't know how else I can take that information, right? And so, the next morning when I found out that this new information, that's two different sources, and then so I tweeted it out. I didn't tweet out that it for sure happened. I said I had multiple people tell me, which is true. I had two different people tell me that they had lunch. I said, could Dame lure Draymond to Portland? It wasn't, I didn't say it.
I think we're good now. Are we good now? It says excellent connection on my end. Chat, let me know if we're good. Shout out to the people that watch it back and don't know these struggles. Yeah, I think we're good. I hope. I gotta figure out the internet, man. I don't really know what to do to figure it out, though. I don't know what to do to figure it out. I'm hardwired and everything. If anything, I have to get new internet.
I would maybe just call or contact Comcast and say you're having leg spikes consistently. What gives?
Yeah.
See, I think we're back now.
So you were talking about your whole tweet on the Draymond Green situation. Yeah. So then Dwight James takes this, chat. Okay. Dwight James, we still got 250 people in here according to YouTube. I don't know if that number is glitched out either, but that means people stayed through the lag, which normally, we lose half our viewership. But so Dwight James took this tweet, went on air, Eric, and you didn't even know about this, said he got a text about this.
Yeah.
Then later retracted that statement and said, no, actually it was a tweet and it was fake.
Yeah, even though he said it live on air.
He said it was a text. He lied, and then just assumed it was fake. You know what? Because it was you.
Well, he also didn't want to bet it. I understand that from his point of view, it was unvetted. He didn't want to say it was true or not true because
then say I don't know. I don't know if it's true.
Well, that's
don't
what he initially said
fake.
Until the next day, right?
Yeah, the next day he said it was fake.
And then Aaron Fentress comes out with a tweet about. It's very unclear what he was saying. He says they were not in town talking about free agency or something. It didn't say he wasn't in town. It said they weren't in town talking about free agency or something like that. I still don't even know what happened. But anyways, once again, that tweet blew up. It was on so many places ran with it. Whatever. I don't really care about that kind of stuff. But I heard two things. I heard from two very good sources that I think everyone would agree, if I told you the sources, would agree, okay, that's legit info. And I shared it with people. That's all I care. I don't care if people think I'm believable or not. I just heard some stuff and wanted to share it with you. And that's all I do on this show, too. It is, I hear stuff. Some of it I can't say, but the things I can say, I want to tell you guys what I hear. And as I say more and more stuff, it's just weird because, like you were saying, we hear stuff, but more and more people come to us, and we get people who say they were at Dame's camp and talk to Dame directly. Right?
Yeah, so I legitimately had somebody reach out to me, and nothing that I've said on Twitter is based on this at all, okay? I had somebody that said he was at Dame's YMCA camp, and said he got to talk to Dame, and said, he's wearing blazer shorts, and said he didn't want to leave. They forced him out and pointed to his shorts, he's still wearing blazer shorts, they didn't want him there, blah, blah, blah. I didn't share any of this because it's just somebody that messaged me on Twitter and said he was there and was saying, yo, you should come down here and talk to Dame yourself. I'm not going to walk into a YMCA camp uninvited. I'm not going to go do all that. But, that's hearsay. I don't know 100% if that's true or not. I hope it's true. I hope that the guy who, said it to me wasn't lying. And, if you end up in a situation like that, I hope that you would share it with me. But I'm not just going to go and then act like somebody randomly DM me on Twitter is true, right? The thing is about this platform, if you watch this for a long time, I pride myself, and we pride ourselves on just telling it how we see it and trying to keep things real, right? Sure, I might throw a video out there that's the best trade possible for the Blazers this offseason. And it might be very optimistic, and some people would probably, and rightfully so, say, oh, that's an unrealistic trade. Fine, right? That's the extent of it. I've always prided myself on trying to understand the game, understand the CBA, so that I can bring you guys a well-educated opinion. We've become successful off that, so there's no incentive for me to go start making stuff up, because I don't need, and you don't need, to go out there making stuff up in order to be successful. We've built the #1 independent Blazers YouTube channel by far, just by being ourselves and by keeping it real, which we've always prided ourselves on. So what would be the reason for you to go make up stuff, or me to go make up stuff, or this or that? It doesn't make any logical sense. So we get way too much heat for people, and I understand that people won't believe YouTubers, but to think that me and Eric, who talk to so many freaking Blazer fans, don't have a network of people we talk to that we hear things through doesn't make sense, because your whole story with the whole Draymond Green, Damian Lillard Twitter thing, I mean, you knew somebody that knew the GM of the restaurant because you talk to a ton of people.
Yep. And I hear stuff like that all the time that I'm just yeah, whatever. Someone they might even be watching the show right now, messaged me saying that they knew someone who knew Dame, and that they said this was several weeks ago, that the trade was done and it would happen within a week, and these were the basic parameters of it. And I was like, oh, that's cool, thank you. I can't obviously say anything, like I can't just say this is true because I don't have any way of vetting it or whatever. And it turned out to not happen, and that doesn't mean that they're necessarily not credible either. I mean, that's the other thing people don't realize is like things happen to where, like, if you believe that Joe Cronin wanted to win with Dame and stuff, and that this is a rebuild, like, you have to realize that things change. So, like, why can't information change or intel change as more information becomes available? Like, nothing, even if I had access to Joe Cronin and Truth Serum directly, nothing, like, he could still say stuff that would eventually not come true, right? Because he would say, oh, we're going to trade for OG or whatever, and then he can't get the trade done, and then so that's not false information, right? It just wasn't it just didn't end up happening, even though they might have tried to do it.
So that's why I engage intention a lot with GMs, is what
Right.
are they intending to do? That's the whole thing with Cronin. But Eric, even if you took someone who works for the team, I've heard information from, the most I can say is I've heard information from somebody who's worked for the team that hasn't ended up coming close to being true.
Right.
Somebody who works for the team. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you guys can go ahead and guess who it is, but I mean, that's the thing, is even people who work for the team don't bat 100% on what's going on with this organization. Shoot, if Joe Cronin tried leaking what was true, he probably wouldn't bat 100%. Like, things are so fluid, so I don't know.
Like, if you ask Joe Cronin what's going to happen with Damian Lillard right now, he might not even know, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, Kyler Johnson says Tori looks so weird without the beard. Bro, somebody was complaining about my beard a week ago, and now I cut it, and now it's a What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to... I don't know what to do, man. I don't know if there's a good middle ground for you guys, because you guys care so much about my facial hair. Anyway, yeah, that's the thing, is, like, I know Eric is legitimate about making sure information is legitimate, and he shared stuff with me that hasn't even gone public that's proven to me it's legitimate. So, like, anything Eric says, I have confidence in it being true, because he does talk to a lot of people. He does have a source. It's been proven to me, and I think it's, with the whole Jeremy Grant situation last year, some people want to discredit it, but I think that, in a way, proved it as well. But there's other things that haven't come to light that have proved it for me. I mean, and the thing is, we talk to a bunch of people, so we hear a lot, and we're able to vet out certain things and be confident in it. But here's the thing, Eric, like, I understand why people don't believe us, so I'll play it more passively than I truly think. Like, I'll say, I truly, legitimately believe that Cronin told Dame he'd trade him where he wants to go. I mean, he has a pattern of doing that with previous players, 3 previous players, and Norman Powell, CJ McCollum, and Gary Payton II, and that was something that, if I recall correctly, you reported, right? That Cronin told Dame that he'd trade him where he wants to go. But if I talk about it publicly, I just bring it up as, like, it's possible he did.
Yeah, right. And for that.
And I still get killed for it. I literally had a tweet saying, disregarding the possibility that Cronin told Dame he'd trade him where he wants to go, and then basically, I don't think what Cronin has done is impressive, regardless of what he said leading up to this. I don't think how he's handled it since Dame requested trade was impressive. And despite me saying disregarding the possibility, people were like, you don't ever hear anything. I know this for a fact. Like, all right, man. Okay, bro.
I think, silly. See, people come at it from the angle that we're trying to be someone we're not. And
we are is successful.
I'm fine with my life, man. I love getting on here, talking to you guys about the Blazers and stuff. That's led to some opportunities to meet some people that I probably would have never met had I not had this channel. And that leads me to get info that I could possibly get. And
And dude, it's led to guys like I have a legitimate graphic design job lined up with a company that is also helping me get sponsorship for this channel.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I don't know how much I'm supposed to talk about yet, but like it's opened up doors for me in ways I never thought possible. Like I'm going to be able to make, and I have made, graphics for creators. And, like, be able to do that as a living on top of the channel, on top of being able to have, you know, bring in more sponsorship, which allows us to do more content. You know, it's just better for the channel. It's going to be better for viewership because we're going to do more next year. And, like, you know, I'm perfectly happy, too. I'm doing really well right now.
Yeah, and believe it or not, I have a family. I touch grass on a regular basis. I have a more than full-time job outside of this, running my own business and stuff. Like I I do not just sit on or just, this isn't my whole life. I don't know, but like people just assume like this is what I'm trying to do or whatever. Like this is more of a hobby / side gig for me. And if I if I am if I'm like sharing stuff with you guys, it's because I want to talk about it with you guys. Like it's fun to talk about and stuff. Like I don't really care that people don't believe it or whatever, because like I know all the real ones know that it's not coming from a place where, oh, I'm gonna be right every time and I'm gonna show up all these other guys or whatever. So yeah, I'm just having fun with you guys. If I hear stuff, if I find out it's credible, I like to share it. I do feel like I have actually multiple legit people that I would trust with whatever they tell me. I do still vet most of it anyway, but yeah, I do feel like it's all credible, and so I will share that info if I get it with you guys, and I don't really care if you think it's me trying to become something I'm not, or trying to just be cool with you guys and have some fun and share some info that I heard. That's all it is. And it'll probably never be more than that for me. I hope Tori goes on to do big things and doesn't ever forget about us along the way. But yeah, I'm not trying to take anyone's job or do anything or become the #1 insider for the Blazers. I mean, that'd be cool to be that, just organically, but like I'm not setting out to do any of that kind of stuff, or that doesn't occupy my life.
You're also smart enough to know that like you're not gonna, even if you wanted to get there, you're not gonna get there by making stuff up online.
Right, exactly.
So
that's like the worst way to get there.
Yeah, so but people try and imply that like Eric is basically trying to fake it till he makes it in terms of information, which just isn't even possible. It's not even possible. Like at some point it'll get found out. Like, here's the thing, I bag on Flex from Jersey, but he definitely gets information from somewhere. He just like spins it in a way where it's like very, like he'll be very confident something's gonna happen, but then when it doesn't, if you look back on the way he worded it, it's like he only worded it as a possibility and this could happen and blah, blah, blah. I mean, just look at the whole like DeAndre Ayton to the Jazz, like Ben Simmons, Kevin Durant 3-team trade ideas last offseason. Like, none of those came true, and he's basically saying that's going to happen by July 4th. Durant didn't end up in Phoenix till February, and people were state. So, yay. I don't know.
Did it end, or is it still going?
No, it's still going. It doesn't, like, completely lag all the way out. And even gaming, like, it doesn't lag all the way out. It happens when I game, dude.
Are we back?
Yeah, I think we are.
Whoa.
So, is anybody an internet expert? Can anybody help me fix my lag? It literally is happening on an almost nightly basis now, man.
Definitely need to call them and let them know that it's happening. Maybe you have like a box that's going faulty or something.
I don't know. Get a new modem and router. How fast can I do that? Because I need to do that ASAP.
I think there's, I don't know where one is in Vancouver, but there's the Xfinity stores. I think if you just go in there and
buy one.
No, I think if you just tell them what's going on, they just switch out the one you have to a new one.
Okay. Yeah, I'll figure that out. I'll do something, guys. Sorry about the lag.
Yeah.
It sucks. Especially, dude, I feel like we've been in a flow this stream. I've been enjoying it, and then lag comes out of nowhere. What were we talking about, chat? I don't remember. Anyway, yeah, I mean, Eric's the last dude to make stuff up. Anything you see on Twitter or Reddit that's hating on us is probably some BS. And the worst thing about us is my internet right now. So, anyway.
Yeah,
or maybe my negativity, but man, I just want this team to be good. That's the thing. Well, I just want this team to be good.
Hopefully it doesn't lag out again. I do have to say something else. Okay,
go ahead.
Because
go off.
You know, people come on stream like, "Can we get a Brant bomb? Can we get a Brant bomb?" Like, I can't give you a Brant bomb if I don't hear anything, right? So I don't hear everything. Like, I'm not going to hear 100% of the info.
I'm with them. Just let us be your fanboys, Eric. Okay, I'm with them.
Like, it drives me crazy because there's people, you probably know one of these people, Tori, but they say like, there's not ever gonna be someone who just leaks 100% of the information and you know everything and blah blah blah. No one's ever said we know everything. Like, that's not even possible. Like no one, like those people are just so annoying because it's like,
dude, how many times have I sat up here on a video or a stream saying, like, I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be fascinating to find out, though.
But there's literally nothing going on right now. But, like, people are wanting me to just, like, if I was actually making something up, I would be telling you guys, oh, yeah, they talked today. The Heat and the Blazers are really close in a trade. Tori's wrong. They're going to have a trade on August 5th. You know, like, you know, like... but they're not doing anything, right? Like, nothing's happening, and I don't just. It's not like every meeting, every time Joe speaks, this person runs to me and tells me what Joe's saying, right? That's not what's happening. It's they find out information every once in a while and pass that along. Like, it's not a big deal. But like people make it out to be like I have everything. I know every single thing that's going on within the organization. Like it's going to happen. And if one thing is wrong, like, oh, see, told you don't know shit.
Well, here's what's going to happen. If Dame gets traded in August, somebody is going to take this stream and say, see, you have no idea about anything.
If it gets traded on August 5th now, and I just said it.
I'll dude, screw it. I'll be shameless and just change the title, I guess, if I remember. Prediction: Damian Lillard will get traded in August, and then they'll actually have to watch the stream to realize that that's not what I said. Because none of them actually really watch streams. Some of them probably do. Yeah. But a lot of these dudes just it's just wild, man. I know that, like, if Eric reported 5 things that then happened, it would be a lot easier to be, like, credible, right? But I mean, I don't know what else we got to do to just show you guys who we are as people and prove our credibility, just in terms of, like, we've never been the type of people, and I hope that's obvious to people who have watched us since I started this channel. We're not the type of people to lie or make stuff up. Like, that's not, information is not what got us successful. What got us successful is just telling it like we see it and trying to keep it real. So why would we stray from something that has made us so successful?
Yeah, and I know we can get carried away going at chat sometimes. And that is definitely the something that, you know, a lot of people don't like or whatever, and that's fine. But just know that, like, most of the time, if I respond to someone in a very demeaning or sarcastic way to chat, it's usually because it's been weeks or months of them being rude and saying stuff to us specifically, or monopolizing parts of chat and having arguments in chat that are getting personal and things like that. So I make it personal too, and I know it's probably a little over the top sometimes, and I'm sorry for that, but just know that like it's not like I wouldn't just randomly come in someone would be like, hey, I think Scoot's going to be a really good player. Oh, you idiot! Like screw you! Like you know what I mean? Like it's usually based on something that's happened between that person and myself.
Yeah, like just give us I mean, if you don't want to give us the benefit of the doubt, then don't. Fine, whatever. But we legitimately try to be fair to everybody, regardless of opinions. It's you know, but there's a lot of situations like Eric said, and that's behind a lot of stuff. So
I do want to say the last couple weeks, man, chat's been awesome. Chat's
been chill.
There's been hardly any hate. There's been hardly any arguments back and forth. There hasn't been any name calling. Like we haven't really, outside of last stream when Zach was trying to get timed out on purpose. Like there hasn't been a lot of mean or bickering and stuff in chat.
It's been chill. Yeah, no, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. And here's the thing: a lot of people in chat know what we're talking about in terms of the way people come into chat. So, you know, if you know, you know. Shout out to Adam vs. Eve, $5 dono says, ET, you two significantly bring up the average of human goodness. Smash that like button. Thank you, Adam vs. Eve. That's a very nice thing for you to say, and I appreciate the $5 dono.
Adam vs. Eve is pretty much an OG too.
We do our best. Eric, you had a comment earlier right before we lagged. You know, somebody was like, "Where's Tori going?" You know, like hopefully I don't forget about you guys. Nah, man, like I enjoy doing this. It doesn't matter where my life takes me. I'm still going to want to stream. You know, I'm still going to want to put together shows. And like next season, I'm going to bring in more personalities, but like our post-game show is going to be the same. Blazers Uprise Live is going to be the same. I'm still going to do videos. I'm bringing in more people so we can do more content, and I feel like it's people that you guys will like on air, that you guys will get familiar with. One of them is 503 from Twitter, right? The plan is to have him have a podcast with Chase McGraw, who's in our chat a lot, went to Dan Patrick School of broadcasting. I did a NBA Uprise live stream with him, right? So like 503 is really big on Twitter, really big personality, really cool guy. We've known him for a while, and Chase is a guy who's gone to school to be on air. Like he's somebody that's put in some work, you know. It's not like we're just taking people from nowhere. So like those are a couple of the people. We've talked with Crushables, who is in our chat a lot. He has a YouTube channel with almost 40k subs, does a lot of 2k stuff, but he's a Blazer fan. He's great on the mic. We've talked with him, right? And then, you know, I've brought Steven in. I know a lot of you guys don't agree with what Steven says, but I think me and Steven's podcast is good just to like have debates and kind of go, you know, butt heads on things. You know, it's a little bit different. So like the goal right now is to do a pregame video for every game, a watch party for every game, and I won't host most of those because I'll be doing post games, but like I want 503 to host some of those. I want Chase to host some of those. I want Crushables to go on some of those. Like just watch party for every game if you guys want that, you know. And if you don't, all our content will be the same, but we'll be able to do more and bring in more personalities and kind of grow this out a little bit more. That's the plan. That's the goal. Not sacrifice anything that we've done that you guys like that has made us successful, but just build upon it.
Allison said we should let her on. Yeah, she's our TMZ Uprise reporter, right?
Yeah, Allison, you can be our TMZ. When we get in office especially and have cubicles, we can just sit around the cubicles gossiping about what NBA player is dating what celebrity.
Why Dame didn't go to Nurk's wedding.
Yeah. I'll have to get more of a tan because I swear all the guys on TMZ have a tan, at least the little bit that I've unfortunately watched. So
well, while we're on like kind of a semi-related topic, I hope he's still in here. I saw him in here earlier, but I had a chance to meet Austin from chat at a local yogurt place over the weekend. Him and his lovely wife, and
is that why he called you the froyo guy?
Yeah, little tiny son, and super nice people, and so I just wanted to say hi to him and his family. It's nice meeting you the other day.
Alex Wolf says, Tori, can you bring Peyton Pritchard on? I'm working towards the point where maybe I could actually land interviews. Okay. no promises, but I'm more, we're getting there.
If we have Peyton Pritchard on, would you talk to him about blocking a shot in high school?
Dude,
like jokingly bring it up.
So, I know, yeah. I'd have to. I was like, so you probably don't. Or no, you know what the question would be? It'd be, so I played against you in high school in summer league. I ended up blocking your shot. Do you remember that at all, or no?
I would even remember that.
I'd have to do that just for chat, dude. He'd probably be like, "What the hell am I doing on an interview with this bozo?" Yeah. I don't know. I would maybe have to do that for chat, and then he would never talk to me again.
Oh man, Adam versus Eve accidentally put one too many nines in his.
Shout out to Adam versus Eve for a $49.99 donation. Thank you, Adam versus Eve. Yeah, you think it meant to be $9.99?
$4.99. He just put
$4.99. Well, I appreciate the extra 9, Adam. Thank you.
Sorry to your bank account.
Yeah. It says, if the Heat don't want to make moves to get the piece that Portland needs to make the trade happen, why doesn't Cronin try to bring in a third team? It seems like moves can be made, but neither organization seems to want to do the work. Thank you, Adam, for the $50 dono. Eric, I think you're best equipped to answer that.
I mean, I think it's pretty clear the Heat need Dame. The Blazers obviously want to move on with their rebuild. Thanks, Adam versus Eve. I was just messing with you, but yeah, that's awesome. Appreciate it. Yeah, I think at this point, I think they were hoping that, well, the Blazers were hoping that there would be more teams involved offering, and there might have been a couple teams, but the teams that have called so far, no one's even offered more than the Heat's offer, which the Heat feel like that gives them leverage. It's like, well, why do we need to offer more if you're saying you're taking other offers and you're not getting more from any other team? So that's part of it. The other part is, I think they were also hoping that there would be a team that struck out, whether it was free agency or in a trade they were trying to pull off, and desperately needed someone like a Tyler Hero for scoring punch or a guard or something. And I think there's teams that definitely would give up a first for Hero. I just don't think there's teams that are giving up a ton for Hero, or that desperately need him. I mean, they'll take him and would do it for a reasonable package, but they're not going to overpay for Hero. And especially a couple of teams that probably could use him, like Philadelphia or Brooklyn. Those teams are not going to ultimately be the reason why Miami wins a championship by getting Dave just to get Tyler Hero and give up overpay to do so. So like some of those teams are stuck in a position where Hero makes sense for them, but they also recognize that they're helping Miami get Dame. So why would they give up, like if you're Brooklyn, 2 or 3 firsts, and even if you get rid of Ben Simmons, you're still helping one of your biggest rivals get Dame. So I think part of the problem is they could probably get a first right now and do the package of 4 first, like I did in the poll earlier, 4 first, Jovic and Hawkes and expirings, with swaps and stuff. That's probably a legit, realistic opportunity right now on the table. But both Portland's hoping they get a little more in the deal, maybe an extra first or an extra young player or an upgraded young player than the ones that are in the trade. And Miami's sitting there thinking this is the most we can offer. Like we can't. I mean, short of maybe another team giving a first for Caleb Martin or something. There's not much else they can do to up their offers. So I think both teams feel like they're doing as much as they can and hoping that something else happens to make this go faster. But at this point, I don't really see that extra thing happening. So it's ultimately going to come down to, will Joe Cronin and Jody Allen, the Portland Trailblazers, accept that offer of 4 first, Jovic, Hawkes, and swaps? Well, that will that ultimately be the offer that's accepted or not? I think that's basically what it's going to come down to.
Yep. About as well as you can encapsulate it, and that's why I think we're in a holding pattern, and that's why I don't think Dame will get traded in the month of August, but we'll see, as the month of August will be here, at least on the West Coast, in 30 minutes. So hopefully you enjoyed your July. Hopefully we have a good month of August, and then we'll start talking about how the season's getting close. So only 2 more months of off-season to go until the Blazers 2023-2024 season is here, but man, still a lot to figure out regarding this situation. So anyway,
do you have the results of the second poll?
Yeah, so like 50% said it was okay, 50%
good enough.
I don't
49 good enough or
I thought
something.
you were grabbing the results. Yeah,
well, it was during one of the legs, and then it didn't show up anymore, but whatever. But it was like 70% said that they would take the Rudy Gobert package, right?
Yeah.
So the Rudy Gobert package was 4 firsts, 1 swap, the recent 22nd pick in the draft, which was Walker Kessler, and a bunch of mediocre role players. And so then the Miami Heat package I asked you about was 4 firsts, the recent number 18 pick in the draft. 2 years ago, the number 20 was 27 or something for Jovic, 28, something like that. So 2 recent first round picks, and mediocre to lame role players, and expirings. So if you want the Gobert package, but think Miami's offer is trash, like I've been told several times on Twitter, realize that it's actually pretty comparable. And it's a situation where the Blazers, I guess the only argument is that you think Minnesota's picks are better than Miami, but in 2028, Pat Riley will be 83 years old. Dame and Bam and Jimmy Butler will all be either on another contract because their current contract will have been over. And Jimmy and Dame will be, 37, 38, 39 years old. They're going to be older, even if they are still on the Heat. And the Heat will have given every possible asset. So even if you think, a swap with Miami, that's garbage. Well, it's not. The swap prevents them from having any assets until 2030, because if you own all their firsts and all their swaps, they have no way to trade to get better. So maybe they get lucky with free agency or whatever. But I do believe when you're trading with a team that has mostly their own picks they're trading you want them to be future first, much further future first than closer first, because they have greater chance of being good. And with all the talk about Miami, those picks are guaranteed to be bad or whatever, they've been in the lottery a lot more than you think if you go back and look. And we're almost in the lottery last year too. So just keep that in mind, that this offer, it doesn't seem great, but it is very comparable to what other teams have gotten for stars.
Yeah, except Dame's a lot better than Gobert.
It's true. But he's also older, and they both have bad contracts and stuff. But that was the situation, though, when you're trading a player, because if this was 2 years ago, I'd absolutely agree with that. Dame would be still right in the middle of his prime, all that kind of stuff. But the age of Dame, I don't think it's a bad thing. I still think he's got several years left, but I do believe that it's a situation where this is why they're not seeing a lot of offers from other teams, which we warned people about. It's a situation where teams know he requested a trade and we had to. Gobert didn't request a trade. They had the ability to trade him or not trade him because he hadn't requested a trade, right? And same with Donovan Mitchell. So they could have built around Donovan Mitchell or whatever, or not. And so they had time to figure it out, whereas Portland has obviously turned to rebuild mode or turned the page to scoot. And the teams know they have to basically trade Dame. They can't really bring him back. So I think it is different in terms of leverage and how it's perceived, at least.
Yeah. Anyway, I got to...
Okay.
What were you going to say?
I was even if Dame's a much greater player, obviously, than Rudy Gobert.
Yeah. Anyway, I got to run. Thank you for watching the stream. Thank you to Bet Online for sponsoring the stream. Use the promo code BELIEVE for a 50% reward bonus. Thank you, everybody, for how interactive you guys are in chat. We'll take some questions on Thursday and maybe look at a couple Dame trade packages if you guys want to kind of rehash that since we haven't in a while. And, of course, we'll talk about any of the latest developments in this Dame trade saga. I also have a link for Manta Masks if you guys have been planning on buying one down in the description box below. Make sure to click that and get yourself a good night's sleep. And with that being said, that's a wrap, Max. Stay tuned on that. Stay tuned. And that's a wrap. We'll catch you guys on Thursday. Might be another video between now and then. We'll see.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. Appreciate you. I do have... I think this is my last one, but I do have another late game, so stream will probably be a little later, or Tori will start solo on.
Yeah.
So I might set up at work so I can just go back to work. It's a little closer than going back
you
home.
don't have to do that. I'll go live a little bit later. It's fine. We'll figure it out. You and your late games, man. Anyway.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. I understand it. That's a wrap for Blazers Uprise Live. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of your night. And until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.